Hey, this is Tom with Vermont Grow Coaching, and welcome to Grower's Guide, your weekly beginner-friendly cannabis tips and tricks. This week on Grower's Guide, we're going to be talking to you about irrigation, a super simple, cheap, and easy way to set up an irrigation system. Let's get dripping. Oh, hey guys, is it that time already? You got to give me like 2 minutes. I'm just finishing up some trimming on some traditionally dried and cured GMB 77 for a strain review that's going to be coming out in December. Make sure to look out for it. All right, now that you've watched me catch up on my trim game, it's time to get into irrigation. Today, we've got a super cheap and simple way to set up irrigation. I don't care if it's whether you're going away for a few days or you're disabled and it's hard for you to bend over to water your plants every day, or maybe even if you're just lazy. It's okay, be honest. Regardless, this is again a cheap and simple way to get set up to self-water your plants. First, we're gonna need a small pump. This pump is a 49-watt pump. This is more than adequate to be able to water probably up to about 10 to 15 5 to 10 gallon pots. It will take a little bit longer during that pump process the more plants that you need to water, but in this situation we're just going to show you how to hook this up to one individual plant here. So we've got our pump and we've got a headset on it for our 3/4 inch irrigation tubing. We're going to start by taking this 3/4 inch irrigation tubing that we've already cut relatively short. It is longer than the 5-gallon bucket that we've got here, but not by much. So we go ahead and we put that on here. We're going to measure this right up against the 5-gallon bucket. Now you notice we're using a 5-gallon bucket that is food grade safe. This is very important when working with this method because using any other sort of plastics could potentially leak toxic chemicals into your plants, which can cause issues for both your plants as well as yourself. Now we've taken this bucket and we've gone ahead and we've put a small hole in the lid. That's going to be for our irrigation tubing. So we go ahead and we want to make sure that the top of the hose is roughly about 2 inches above where the top of the bucket would be. Now, this is only if you're going to be doing a simple setup like we are today. There's numerous different ways that you can do this, so please don't hold this as a tried and true only option for you to use. There are plenty of different methods for you to do this. So we go ahead and we clip that off there. We've got some nice little snippers here, but you can go ahead and use scissors or a saw if you absolutely need to as well. We're gonna go ahead and open our bucket. We're gonna drop our pump right in the bottom. Make sure you have a pump with suction cups that has a bottom feed if possible. That's going to ensure that it's pulling directly from the bottom so that you get all of the water out of the bucket before having to re-up. So we're gonna go ahead and feed both the hose as well as the power cord through the same hole. There is a power cord. You are going to need to plug this into a wall. So if you're working outdoors, make sure you find some way to operate power and choose a pump that is outdoor rated as well. Once we have this set up in here, we're going to go ahead and add a 3/4 inch tee. This tee gets added right to the end of the pipe. And then we're going to take another section of 3/4 inch tubing and we're going to attach it to the other end of the tee. Now, when we do that, we're going to make this about the same size as the top of the 5-gallon pail without actually kinking the hose in any way. If you kink the hose, you're going to run into issues with water not traveling as fast through the system. And if you have more than one tube set up, or more than one watering site set up, you're going to run into issues with one site being watered faster than another. So we go ahead and we just cram these ends on there. They are nice and tight. They need to be nice and snug like this. This is what prevents you from having to use any sort of adhesive when getting these to mount together. I've never had to worry about using any sort of adhesive with this process as long as you use the right size tee with your hosing. All right, so now that we've got that in there, we're gonna go ahead and take a drill with a 1/8 inch bit. You can pick up specific hole punches that are designed for 1/4 inch tubing, but in our situation, I find that using a 1/8 drill bit is perfectly acceptable as long as you're careful and don't go all the way through the hose or your hand. All right, so after we've drilled our hole, we've got these little 1/4 inch adapter pieces. One end is going to get jammed right through that same hole that you just created with your 1/8 bit. Again, keep in mind, this is going to be difficult to press through the hole. You are going to use quite a bit of force in order to get it through, but it will go through. And once it does, it's going to help keep a solid seal so that you don't have to worry about any sort of adhesives. All right, so now that that's in, we're going to take a piece of 1/4 inch irrigation tubing and we're going to attach that to the other side of the adapter that we just put into the 3/4 inch line here. Again, this is going to be just as difficult to get on here. If you need to, you can lubricate the inside of it a little bit. I would suggest some distilled water or reverse osmosis and not using your saliva, just because of the additional bacteria that you could be introducing to the system. All right, so we got that on there. Now we're going to go ahead and grab a 1/4 inch tee. This tee is going to go directly into the same 1/4 inch line that we just put into the adapter. And then we're going to take one of these bad boys. This is irrigation tubing, 1/4 inch in diameter, that has drip line and drip holes every 6 inches. So this is fantastic for watering small plants. We've got one here that's roughly about 8 inches. When we double it over, it's got about a 4.5 inch radius on it. And we're gonna go ahead and attach that one end directly to the tee. And the other end is gonna wrap around the plant and connect to the other side of the tee. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and add your drip line directly to your pot. Once your drip line is in your pot, go ahead and fill up your bucket. We're going to adjust this one a little bit before we use it here. Go ahead and fill up your bucket and give it a test. Once you've tested your system and ensured that it works properly, pick up a cheap timer that allows you to adjust the time by the second, not the minute, not the half hour, not the 15-minute, has to be by the second. That way you can individually adjust the timer to properly set up the water irrigation for your plants. So let's give it a look. Drip, 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 drip. Additional tips. Don't use compost teas or other sediment-heavy waters with this system. The drip lines, unfortunately, will get clogged. They're perfectly okay, however, for water-soluble nutrients and teas. Use a small air pump and an air stone in the water to help prevent the water going stagnant and to keep it oxygenated. Adjust waterings throughout the growth cycle. Check regularly for leaks. You don't want a wet floor. And make sure you sterilize your system on a regular basis. Time for a little fun. Ready for some bloopers? We're going to take one of these 1/4 inch lines that we discussed before. We didn't discuss these before. It's time to get into a little bit of irrigation. This irrigation system is super chimp. Thanks for tuning into Grower's Guide. You should now have a general idea how to set up a cheap and simple irrigation system. If you have any questions or concerns regarding today's segment or would like to set up a consultation appointment, please reach out to Vermont Grow Coaching at vermontgrowcoach.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram or contact us directly at 802-342-5381.